There is no way that I'm messing this up again. You know we love to be transparent here on the Fantasy Headliners. Well, I'm going to be transparent about one of my biggest misses ever. And I'm also going to share with you why I am not letting it happen again. Headliner Nation, one of my biggest misses ever while working in this industry was at the quarterback position. And now I find myself in a similar situation this year, and I'm not going to let that miss affect me. I've changed my mindset. I'm not missing out on this one. But first, let's start with a little bit of a backstory here, because the guy I'm talking about is one of the top quarterbacks in this draft, Anthony Richardson. He was already considered by many, including myself, to be a first-round prospect. Then he went to the combine and put up absolutely insane record-breaking numbers. But the spotlight of putting together an insane combine also brings a lot of the negative reactions from people who are trying to downplay how crazy it was. A lot of people are pointing towards some inconsistencies and some not so flattering numbers during his last year at Florida, but I would be willing to bet that a majority of you out there don't even know this timeline of Anthony Richardson and how we got to now. So let me break this down for you really quick. Anthony Richardson committed to Florida during his senior year, his hometown team. But during that senior year, during their 6th game, he injured his shoulder and ended up missing the rest of the year. For those of you that haven't played college athletics, that summer between your senior year of high school and your freshman year of college is really important. And if you miss that entire summer, it can really set you back. But not only did he spend that summer rehabbing, but then when he finally did arrive to campus, COVID hit. That's right, Anthony Richardson's freshman year was basically wiped out. Practices were weird, games were weird. You didn't have the same type of rules in effect during that COVID season because a lot of things were shortened and you didn't get the opportunity to work with coaches as much as normal. Almost every high schooler that goes into college is going to have raw athletic talent. And then the college is the ones that kind of help develop that and move them along and really start to help them expand on that. But when you lose that summer and you lose summer ball with your teammates and then you end up going into a COVID year where you don't get the normal type of practices, Anthony Richardson was already falling behind. Add on top of that during his 3 years at Florida, the guy had a different quarterback coach and offensive coordinator every single year. Even NFL quarterbacks have a hard time adjusting when they get new coaches. Do we really think a young kid in college wouldn't have some issues with that as well? And then to top it all off, when a new coaching staff came to town right before his final year, he had to learn an entire new system before he finally took over as starter. Anthony Richardson's college journey was one big roller coaster, and we're still talking about him as a top 5 pick in this year's draft. All right, but let's start to wrap in why this ties up to one of my biggest misses ever in this industry. Let's compare Anthony Richardson's final season numbers to my biggest miss ever. In 2022, Anthony Richardson played in 12 games, completed 176 of 327 passing attempts, threw for just over 2,500 yards, and threw 17 touchdowns with 9 interceptions. And of course, he was a wrecking ball on the ground. The dude can run the football. Also, on a side note, he completed 55.6% of his passes to targets 31 or more yards down the field. That was first among every draft eligible quarterback this season. And for my biggest miss ever, in his final year in college, he played 11 games, one less than Richardson. He completed 152 of 270 passes for only 1,812 yards, and he threw 16 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Now, if those numbers don't sound familiar to you, they belong to a guy that was a huge riser going into draft season that really before that year, nobody had ever talked about. And it's former Wyoming quarterback Josh Allen, who is now one of the top quarterbacks in all of football. And it's funny because my biggest miss on Josh Allen was the fact that he was an inaccurate passer, and I didn't know if he was going to develop at the NFL level or how quickly he would. I mean, when I did my draft profile of Josh Allen, I called him a more athletic Ryan Mallett. Yikes. But the thought process was the same as Anthony Richardson. both of these guys had accuracy issues and trouble with certain throws while they were in college. But they were both athletic as heck, and they could throw the deep ball because they had a strong arm. And when I broke down Josh Allen, I realistically said that if he went to the right scenario where he got to sit for 2 or 3 years, he could absolutely get those issues under control and become a really good quarterback. But then the Bills drafted him, and then they tried running him out his rookie year, and it didn't go so hot. In fact, his first couple of years were so-so. But then he turned a corner. Now, for a lot of quarterbacks like that, it all depends on where they land. And for Anthony Richardson, it's not going to be any different. He's going to have to land with a coaching staff that is able to develop him. But the thing I'm not missing on this year is I'm not going to walk away from pure athleticism and arm talent because they have issues that can be fixed at the NFL level. Because let's face it, Anthony Richardson's and Josh Allen's numbers are very, very close. So if you're using Anthony Richardson's numbers against him, is it really that realistic? Because let's face it, he wasn't really set up for success going into his final year either. In fact, those numbers came against the SEC. Josh Allen's pathetic numbers, whew, they weren't even in a decent conference. And Josh Allen ended up being just fine. But let's break down what the scouting report is on several other players that were always in the same situation. Jalen Hurts, when he was coming out, there was a big question mark on whether or not he was going to be able to complete passes on those slants and crossing routes because he just wasn't accurate enough. Josh Allen, who we've just been talking about, in his NFL scouting report, he's got a big arm, but it leads to some inconsistencies on those short passing routes. Lamar Jackson, everybody was saying that he lacked touch on those passes over the middle of the field and those intermediate routes, and he had a tendency to sail the football. Anthony Richardson's closest comp, though, is Cam Newton, and he had a huge year at Auburn to end his career, winning the Heisman National Championship, everything involved, but it still didn't stop scouts from putting in his NFL profile that he was inconsistent with his accuracy, and he needed to build on that in order to be successful at the next level. All of these quarterbacks, along with Anthony Richardson, have the same draft profile. Big arms, can push the ball down the field, great feet, they have explosiveness, they're athletes, they can do things on the ground other quarterbacks can't. But everybody hates on their accuracy on short passes and over the middle of the field. Well, guess what? It worked out fine for them, and honestly, I think it's going to work out fine for Anthony Richardson. Now, I will say Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson, I didn't miss on those guys. I thought they both were going to be successful at the NFL level, given the chance. But I missed horribly on Josh Allen, and I missed horribly on Jalen Hurts for the same reasons, is I just didn't think that they would develop as a passer quick enough, and guess what? They did. So I'm going to take what I have learned, and I'm going to take my misses in the industry so far, and I'm going to go back and look at them and say, what did I get wrong? And it's the same thing I got wrong on Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. Super athletic quarterbacks that can do a lot of things with their feet. They have big arms. They can push the ball down the field, but they've got to grow as an accurate passer over the middle. And when you get to the NFL level and you fall with the right coaches and the right organization, they're going to help build you up and get you to that point. And I am not going to miss on Anthony Richardson just because I'm too scared about what he can do over the middle of the field. This kid is smart. He knows what he's doing on the field. I think he's going to be just fine. But that was the whole point to this video. I wanted to share some information with you about Anthony Richardson that maybe you didn't already know. But I wanted to also share with you my process that has caused me to miss a couple of times and why I have changed that going into this year. So y'all let me know down in the comments, what do you think about Anthony Richardson? Take everything that you learned in this video today and let me know if you do believe that he's a guy that can grow at the NFL level or if you just don't see it. And if you don't see it, I want to know why. Give me specific feedback. Give me an educated answer as to why you don't think he can be successful at the next level. But as you do that, hit that like button for me. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Stick around for more amazing content. Peace out, stay safe and healthy, and I'll catch you all on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.